If you've been watching my channel for a little while, you probably know that I try to avoid covering negative things. I don't like to lean into the negative side of things. But today in this video, we're gonna have to do that at least to some degree. Actually, probably to a large degree later on in the video. We're talking about folding phones today. Big shocker there. But more specifically, we're talking about the risk you run by owning one of these things. And I think that that is a two-part question, something that I've covered a little bit here and there, but I've gotten over the years so many comments and so many emails from people saying, I've had this particular bad experience and I don't see enough people talking about this sort of thing happening, and I wish someone would. So I'm going to try to do this the best way that I can. Let's start off with part one of the risk involved with using or owning daily driving a foldable phone, and that is with the failure rate of these devices. Now, unfortunately, I do not have, and I don't think anyone outside of the OEMs themselves have proper data on how fragile these devices are, what rate they fail at. And there's a couple of things that I can show you that I think will broadly get the point across. So this first thing I've actually shown on this channel before. It's an article from Phone Arena, where you one of the 78 million Americans who broke their phones in 2023. If we scroll down here, this is actually taken from Allstate, and according to their data, 78 million Americans damaged, broke, however you want to phrase it, their smartphones in the year 2023. Now, percentage-wise, that will be 31 out of every 100 American smartphone owners damaging a phone over the last year. 8% lost the phone permanently due to damage. So those are just sort of some raw numbers. 1/3 of Americans broke their phone in some way. 8% of those devices were just done for. By far the most common damage seen was to the screen. I don't think that would qualify as permanently losing the device, because a lot of these phones can just have the screens replaced. So kind of nebulous in those numbers, but we're just going to use that number of 31% of Americans broke their phone. Now, of course, this is phones, this is slab phones, this is folding phones, this includes everything. Now, some time ago, I ran my own poll. It's only got 350 votes on this version. So again, these numbers are hard to pin down. But have you had any issues, hardware issues, with your OnePlus Open? And as you can see the breakdown here, 13% of people said yes, they've had a hardware issue, and OnePlus has not been helpful. That's going to be part two here in just a minute. Another 7% said yes, but OnePlus took care of it. Another 7% said yes, but nothing that required support from OnePlus. So that'll be 27% of people had some sort of, maybe you could say, breakage of their OnePlus phone. If we scroll up, I did the same thing with the Z Fold devices. 20% said yes, and Samsung wasn't helpful. 12% said yes, and Samsung took care of it. 8% said yes, but nothing that required support from Samsung. So 20 and 12 is 32, and 8 is 40. So that is actually a, I would say, remarkably high number. Now, we do have to factor in something that is called negative confirmation bias. When you see polls like these, the negative answer is almost always going to be inflated to some degree, because if you're someone who's never had an issue, but you also don't really care about the result of these polls, you've never been affected by this kind of thing, you might see that poll and just scroll by and never vote. But if you've had a really bad experience, you're probably going to vote because you want your voice to be heard, you're frustrated, you're angry. So I think that the negative answers are probably inflated a little bit, but all in all, you can look at those two. OnePlus, Samsung, what was the percentage there? What was the percentage that Allstate stated for all phones? And you could say, I think logically, that these phones do have a slightly higher failure rate to normal slab-style phones. But the biggest thing about them is that they can occasionally just fail to no fault of the user. Now, of course, anything that's mass-produced can be defective. So that's true of anything. But it seems like there's a decently high percentage of people who are just using their folding phone and their screen cracks, it breaks, it fails, and they've done nothing to deserve that sort of thing to happen. They've not dropped it from a significant height. There's no other physical damage. The thing just fails. So that's part one of this video. Part two is going to be what happens after it fails? And this is something else I think is quite difficult to pin down. It's virtually impossible to get a real look at the data here. How many people sent their phone back to Samsung and received really top tier customer service? Because again, those people just don't have anything to say. They're not going to post on Reddit. They're not going to comment. They're not going to vote. They're just going to kind of go about their time. They have no reason to be seeking these sorts of things out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a negative story from all three major folding phone OEMs here in America, which is Google, Samsung, and OnePlus. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to just tell you a negative story about OnePlus, because that could potentially give you the perception that OnePlus is bad with regard to their customer service. Google and Samsung are fine. When the reality is, and trust me on this, go to the Galaxy Fold subreddit, the Pixel Fold subreddit, the OnePlus Open subreddit, and search warranty. And you will see horror story after horror story about all three of these OEMs. And that is what I kind of want to get across to you guys. I want to let you know what can happen to you if your folding phone breaks and you have to take it up with your OEM. Unfortunately, there is a decent chance it's going to go really poorly for you. So like I said, a story for each brand to try and illustrate what I believe is truly the biggest problem with folding phones. Not the fragility, but the customer service from the OEMs. And there's a really unfortunate twist at the end of this video, the timing of which could not have been more, I guess, apt in a bad way. So even though these people gave me permission to talk about their stories, I've decided to keep them anonymous anyways, just to be extra careful. So this first one is about the OnePlus Open. Now this individual had their OnePlus Open. They've been using it for a little while, a decent amount of time, and their screen just completely failed. Big black blotch right down the middle of the hinge area, the crease area, which is where these screens tend to fail if they're going to fail. Now they say that their device has no other external damage at all. It's not been dropped or anything else to ding the thing up. They sent it off to OnePlus. OnePlus then at some point told them that in order to get their device fixed, they're going to have to pay for it. It was not covered under warranty, even though it should be, because again, the device is not damaged otherwise. This has apparently been going on for over 2 months, over 40 emails back and forth. OnePlus still has this person's phone, and they're just kind of stuck in this stalemate where OnePlus wants a decent amount of money from them. I don't know what what monetary unit they have where they are from, but it's a large amount. And like I said, they're just kind of stuck there. And I've actually heard a similar story from someone else where they sent their phone off. OnePlus said it's not covered. You're going to have to pay us money. Months go by before something finally gets resolved. And it's just, that's a really, really bad experience, right? If your phone breaks, again, to no fault of your own, and the OEM is basically holding your phone hostage, and they're not responding in a timely manner either. The emails are going back and forth, days in between emails and things like that are reports that I have heard. And then wanting to charge you to fix a phone that was defective. It's on them, not on you. That is what you're going to be hearing. So another story about the Z Fold, same kind of thing. The screen cracked down the middle. They sent it in and Samsung told them there was some sort of mechanical damage that was something they were not aware of. They couldn't find or see any mechanical damage. Again, the device hadn't been dropped, but Samsung found something that they didn't like and said it's not covered under warranty because there is some sort of physical damage that was induced by you. Same exact thing. We're not going to fix it for you. You're going to have to pay us. Now, here's where the twist in the story begins, because the story I have for the Pixel Fold is not from an anonymous user. It's from me. A lot of you probably know I've been using these foldable phones for a long time. I had a Fold 2, I had a Fold 4, there is a Z Flip in my house, there is a OnePlus Open, and there is a Pixel Fold. And to date, I had zero issues with any of these devices. They'd all been daily driven and used quite a bit. And again, no issues, no screen cracking. The worst thing that we had is a screen protector that had to be replaced on the Z Flip, which was a fairly common issue. I did it myself. It took 5 minutes. No big deal at all. However, on the 28th of April, something tragic happened. And again, the timing to this is honestly comical. And let me show you something actually. So here is an email thread, and hopefully I will remember to blur everything that I need to blur on this. But this was an email thread from the OnePlus Open owner giving me their report. And this is kind of what kicked this off. It wasn't as if this was the first person who had reached out saying, I've had this bad experience and I wish you would talk about it. It was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back in a way from the other emails and the other comments. And as you can see here, in my response is me saying I might make a community post asking for people to share their stories and kind of explaining that I might make this video literally 2 days after sending that reply. I'm sitting on my couch right in there. I opened up my Pixel Fold and I heard a very subtle cracking sound, and lo and behold, there is a crack down the screen of my Pixel Fold. So since I happen to have a broken folding phone right here in front of me, I'm going to show you sort of some context about what can potentially happen. So this is my Pixel Fold, and it has a screen protector on the front screen, so it is in good shape. There are some little scratches on the screen protector, but the actual screen itself is absolutely pristine. If we look at the railing next to the screen, the material that this thing is made out of is really like prone to scratches, but there's no actual damage. Like nothing is dented or anything like that. The same is true for the hinge. It has lots of little micro scratches, but if you have a Pixel Fold, you can, I'm sure, vouch for this. That's just going to happen. But this is not actual damage, right? Like there's no dent, there's no actual damage to that hinge at all. If we go to the top side, same sorts of things, no actual damage, no denting, no actual dings or little chunks taken out of the material. This thing has been, I would say, babied for the most part. I actually took my D-brand leather skin off because I sent this thing back to Google. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. As you can see, totally pristine back here as well. This rail, same thing. There's absolutely nothing about this phone that would say that there has been any sort of user error, prior damage. There's nothing about this phone that says it was thrown, it was dropped, it took some damage. And if we open it up, the same thing is largely true. Everything looks totally fine, except when the light hits it just right, and perhaps you can see there is now a very large crack going right through there. Now, this is what's interesting to me. It didn't crack at the hinge, at the crease. It cracked next to the crease. At first, I hoped that it was the screen protector, but I can't feel it, which tells me that it is under the screen protector. So here's what happened. I heard the crack, I saw the line, and I immediately jumped into the customer support chat on my Pixel Fold. I explained to them what was going on, and they told me first to go to Ubreakifix because they could potentially repair this thing locally. So that occurred late in the evening. So I waited until the next morning and I called a couple of Ubreakifix locations, and they all told me the same thing. We no longer repair Pixel Folds because the repair parts they sent us were defective and had been recalled. So I re-engaged with Pixel support again that morning, explained that to them, and we initiated me sending the device back to them. I'm thinking at this point, I'm under warranty still. My phone has not been damaged. I think that there was one very, very like low drop where I tossed it onto my bed and it bounced and then landed on the floor. My bed is a very low bed. I have an older dog and he likes to get in the bed. So my bed is, I'm not even kidding, it's about that high off the floor. So we're talking about, in all honesty, about 1.5 foot drop, something in that area. And again, as you can see, that was two things. One, that was months and months and months ago, maybe 6 months or longer ago. And two, it did no visible damage to the device at all. It absorbed it like a tank, and several months have gone by. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. So I figured they'd look at this thing, they'd see, hey, this device has been pretty much babied. It's in pristine condition. It's under warranty. Let's repair the screen or send them a new device, whatever it might be. And I'd have my Pixel Fold back in a few days. Unfortunately, that would not happen. One thing I forgot to mention is that after this happened, and I figured I was going to wait till the morning to call Ubreakifix, I closed the thing, I left it sitting right here on this table, and when I came back in the next morning, another crack had appeared on the other side. Can you see that there? There's another line, and as I'm standing here, or sitting here rather, talking about this, I've noticed that yet another crack has appeared right there. Can you see that? Connecting this other one. So now there's 2 cracks on this side, 1 crack on this side. So it is just progressively getting worse and worse. And it has been just sitting here on this table most of this time. And the reason I say most of the time is because for a decent chunk of time since the 28th, it has been in a box like this, traveling across America, doing some sightseeing. And this is where my story goes from bad to worse, and where I feel like I've had one of the worst customer service experiences of my entire life. So I send this device off. I think I shipped it to them on the 29th, and I think they received it on the 30th. So they gave me a thing to print out, went to my local FedEx store, off it went. So after it arrived in Texas, I was looking at my repair details page, and I've zoomed in a bit on this so you can't see anything that's private, but I want you to see something here. This sort of popped up. No issues found. Device not repaired. And I thought, that's very odd. It's definitely cracked. There definitely is an issue to be found. So I was a little bit concerned. So I initiated a chat once again, this time on my computer, and I said, can you tell me what is going on here? They're saying that there was no issue found. Is this a mistake? What is happening here? After a couple of hours of chatting back and forth, I was told that was indeed correct. They had inspected the device and they had seen no problems with it, and they were going to send it back to me. I thought to myself, that is crazy. That does not make any sense at all. This must be a mistake. And I told them, please do not send me back my broken phone. I need it to be repaired, or I need it to be replaced. It is broken. They assured me they'd looked at it and that it was not broken. Nothing like being gaslit by customer support, right? And to make matters all the more confusing, I'm not going to show you this because I'd have to blur like 84 different things on this screen. On that same screen, it shows return device, and it was my phone, and it said canceled. Then it said replacement device, and it said Google Pixel Fold refurbished, and it had my shipping address. So I thought there must be some sort of a mistake here. Perhaps they were going to repair it, but those repair parts were faulty, like Ubreakifix said, and they decided instead to just give me a refurbished device, and someone had keyed something in wrong, and they just were mistaken. So I sat back and I waited for FedEx to deliver something to me. Now, they never told me anything was being shipped to me. The only reason that I knew, my phone's back there, is that I have the FedEx app on my phone and I have advanced tracking. So anything coming to me, it'll tell me. I get a lot of products sent to me, and oftentimes they forget to tell me they sent it. So I knew something was coming, not from them. They didn't tell me anything. This box arrived yesterday. I open it up, lo and behold, they had sent me back my broken phone, which, as you can see, is definitely very, very cracked and broken. So I got back on chat again, and I said, what is going on here? From bad to worse we go, because now I start getting an entirely different story. They also tried to tell me, I'm not even kidding, that physical damage was not covered by the warranty, to which I told them, I know multiple people I didn't tell them I'm a YouTuber because I don't want to go down that road, but I told them I know multiple people, and you're going to be in the comments of this video, at least some of you, who sent their, just like my story, screen cracked, sent it in, they replaced it and sent it back to you, or they fixed it and sent it back to you. So I said, that is not accurate. You do replace these phones when the screen breaks if there's no other physical damage. That is the situation I'm in. You are mistaken about your own warranty. Then the story changed one more time. They started telling me the reason they had sent it back was because they wanted to charge me for it, and I had not accepted a charge. This is also total nonsense, because as part of the process to get your shipping label, they tell you what your estimated subtotal will be to fix the thing you're telling them is broke. I gave them a credit card number, and they put a hold on that credit card. I wish I had have screenshotted that hold to show them, but it was there, and I told them that. I said, no, I did accept a charge. How else would you have put a hold on my credit card? Did you just guess credit card numbers until you found one that had my name on it? I gave you my card. So none of this makes any sense at all. It went from there's no damage to there is damage, but you caused it, to there is damage, you caused it, and we sent you back your device because you didn't give us your credit card number, even though I did give them my credit card number. And currently, the situation I am in is in a holding pattern because I have reached back out again, and I actually spoke to someone yesterday on the phone. They put me on hold and then they hung up on me. I have heard nothing since then. It appears as though they are trying everything in their power to not help me. And here's the really crappy thing about this. That's not just the phone that I use, I would say, more than 50% of the time. It's a phone I use for this YouTube channel. I cover that phone. It's part of my job, and I need that phone functioning. But I'm going to tell you something right now. I am not spending $800 to have that phone repaired when it's not my fault that it's broken. It's covered under warranty. So this is the unfortunate reality for these folding phones. There is a higher chance that they're going to break, and the unfortunate thing is when they do break, the OEMs are seemingly, as far as I can tell, fairly likely to tell you to kick rocks. They're fairly likely to make up every excuse they can think of to not help you. Again, I would encourage you to go to the different subreddits and search, and you will see this borne out over and over and over again. None of these OEMs seem to be doing a good job. When you're talking about a device that's going to be, $1,500, $1,600, $1,800 plus dollars, that's absolutely unacceptable. And really, all I can recommend you at this moment, and maybe some of you guys can drop some recommendations in the comments down below, look into third-party insurance, because you just cannot trust these OEMs to stand behind their products. And it's not Google, it's not Samsung, it's not OnePlus, it's all of them. They all are failing horrifically when it comes to standing behind these foldable devices. It's not just that you're running a slightly higher risk of them breaking, of them being faulty. That is true. The problem is that when it happens, they're going to tell you, tough luck, give us $800 and we'll fix it for you. That's absolutely insane. So look into third-party insurance. Maybe that's a better way to go. Maybe you guys have some stories about using a third-party insurance on a foldable device and how that went for you. Drop those down below. And also, who are you using? This could potentially help people going forward. I'll update you guys, maybe a community post or something on the Pixel Fold situation. Not really sure what's going on there. But unfortunately, my days of first-hand covering Pixel Fold might be over with, at least for now. I don't know how this gets resolved. I don't know what's going to happen. So that might be the end of my Pixel Fold coverage in terms of like first-hand stuff and actually being able to demo stuff for you. We'll just have to see, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.